What is up, everybody? I am Baron Baptiste. Welcome to Disrupting the Drift. This show is about disrupting the status quo, ways of thinking, ways of living, ways of being, ways of acting that no longer serve you and that need some kind of disruption. So we're committed here to being up to something bigger, and through this, you open up to new pathways for yourself and your life. Today, I'm very honored to have a very good friend and someone, a New York Times bestseller, a mentor to many great brands, many great people that you know in the world. And Randy Garn, welcome, man. Good to be with you.
Baron, it's good to be with you. We're going to be sharing this mic. So if you don't know Baron, I have come to love this guy. We are at his place in Cabo that is just beautiful and so wonderful. We've just had a few days here to spend together, and he let me bring my wife out here, and we have just had a blast getting to know you better this trip. And I know we've known each other for a long time, but dude, you're just a machine. You're just a great man. So I've had a great time with you.
Yeah, so good. Takes one to know one. And Randy, so you're a New York Times bestseller author. What's the name of your book for people?
Yeah, no, the name of our book is Prosper, and it's really to create the life you really want. I wrote it when we were helping all these New York Times bestsellers hit New York Times. We started a company called Prosper that took off and had hundreds of employees. But I had somebody said, "Hey, you're helping all these other authors become New York Times bestsellers. Why don't you do it?" And he challenged me. He said, "I'll bet you can't do it." Because he wanted us to help him. And I said, "You know what? I'm going to take you up on that challenge. We're going to do it." So Ethan and I wrote a book called Prosper. It's the six practices to create the life you really want. And it's actually so relevant today. We wrote it during the big economic crisis, 2008, 9, 10. And it was super fun to do, but it's really helped me project and be intentional about my life, about how I am creating the life I really want. And some of that is hanging out with people like you that make me better and want me to be more and do more. That's the name of the book, is Prosper.
Yeah, so good. Everyone get a copy of that. This man, I'll tell you, what he teaches, he lives. And you're someone also for me that, and just knowing you, watching you around people, you're someone who you just live it and breathe it. When Randy walks into a room now, when you walk into a room, people just sit up taller. They glow brighter. The whole environment shifts. When you walk into the room and when you're speaking, it's like people just elevate. And there aren't a lot of people like that. But one thing that you have that I so admire in you, and it's very inspiring, is you're a great person, but you're great with people, and you attract great people. And around you, I always feel elevated. I always get the sense that you really care about me, but I care about what I'm up to. You just very naturally are a contribution to me. I really get that. But I see that's who you are for many people. And people from all walks of life, people who are just starting out, new entrepreneurs, or people that are just wanting to do better, be a better father, be a better parent, be the best expression of themselves, starting with themselves, out to their families, out to the people they work with, and putting products out into the world, expressions out into the world that really elevate and contribute to people. But what is that? If we get down to is that something you were born with, just being great with people? Or is that something you've acquired and developed as almost like a skill over time? Or what is that?
I'll give you a three-part question, because growing up, my dad was a high school football coach. He was an amazing mentor, an amazing man. But before I left to college, he said one thing to me. He said, "Randy, always remember that people are more important than things." Mm-hmm. And if you think about it, in our life, our greatest joys and our greatest sorrows will come within the walls of our own home. Our greatest joys will come around those people we spend time with. Dude, I've had my brothers out here with their wives. We haven't done this for 20 plus years together. And this has been, I mean, you think about the people that you spend your time with will bring you the best happiness. So I've always understood that. And I made that be part of my practice, part of my life. I look at my life as how many people can I help lift and build today? How many people can I help bring joy into their heart? Because the more I do that, the happier I am. The other thing that's important around relationships is that you never know who the treasure map to the treasure is. So I've learned to treat everyone the same, regardless if they're a waiter or the Uber driver or the CEO of a mega billion-dollar company. I have committed to, I am going to see everyone that has divinity within them. They were created by God, I believe. And so I'm not going to ever do anything to harm any of my friends or my family or anyone that I meet. I just want to be a window to God's love. And if I can help brighten somebody's day, then that makes me so happy inside. And that's crazy to think about, but I really, for those of them that know me, like that is the 100% truth, is that I see greatness in every single person.
Yeah.
And I've tried to train myself to that. And I'd be like, and you've seen me, like even at the waiters, dude, how's your day going? Like people are surprised when you ask them that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's important to know. But as you do that, you also, I learn how to collect friends as I go through life. And I'm also very cautious and careful with who I spend my time with.
Yeah.
Because you also have to be conscious of that. Spend your time with people that lift and build you up as well, and that have your back and that love you. If you don't have joy in your heart and you're not hanging out with friends that want the best for you, then you're doing something wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I try to live every day the fullest with the right people.
Yeah. Yeah, no, very good. It's speaking to something I've always grappled with, is like in my world and leading trainings and building a movement of communities like globally. It is empowering people, but then not everybody wants to be empowered, right? Like they're seeing people that you recognize their potential, or like what you're saying, the divinity within them. And everyone has this vast potential. But then there's the balance, whereas if you're trying to bring a horse to water, yet they don't really want to drink, how do you gauge that? How do you gauge who you spend your time with, or in people you mentor or coach or lead? How do you decipher that? What's the distinction there where you like, you know, that saying, don't throw pearl before swine?
Yeah.
And it's like, where is that line? Because I think a lot of us that are very committed to people being their best selves can also spend a lot of ourselves and dilute ourselves and bleed out our energy trying to help people that maybe don't really want to be helped, or they do, but they're stuck somewhere. Yeah. You get what I'm pointing to?
I totally know. And believe me, I have learned this because I have tried to be a savior for some people.
Yeah.
I've tried to help people, including some of my own family. But I have learned as I've went through life is that you can love them, but everybody has their own agency and their own accountability. I like to surround myself with people that are actually committed to high performance. I love to surround myself that are people that are committed to growth. I love to be around people that push and drive me. But that doesn't mean you can't be a resource for people, but you have to be careful where you allocate your time. Mm-hmm. And the older that I get, the wiser I've become at being to allocate my time appropriately with those people and things that I want to spend my time with the most. And so I think as you look at that, like, how do you measure your time value? Like, what is my lifetime value? And my lifetime value is like, how many people can I impact in the world? And so for me, if I can work with a CEO, or if I can really help grow a company that's impacting millions and millions of people, that's a win for me. I don't necessarily need to be the thought leader or the guru or whatever, but if I can work with that CEO or that person and help them impact millions of lives, that's what gets me pumped up. So I love to surround myself with change makers. I love to surround myself that people that believe that they can do everything. I love it when somebody tells me I can't do something. I want to do it twice and take a picture. So I also love to surround myself with people that have courageous hearts and that are fearless and that want to do huge and great things. And so in doing that, I can be a light to those people that may not have that fire inside them yet. But how can I actually light that fire within inside somebody? And I've seen that happen where they've come to an event or they've read my book or something's happened. They're like, dude, you changed me. You made me different. And if I can do that for other people, that's what gets me so excited. But again, they've got to want it. They've got to 100% want it.
Yeah. In my company, in my organization, we would build up facilitators and teachers, leaders in their communities. And I had one distinction, a principle that we would always put in our training and development programs, which was, it's okay to warm yourself by our fire, like by the other leaders' fire. It's okay to warm yourself by our fire, but with the intent, you want to have the intent of becoming your own fire starter.
Oh, 100%.
Right? So because then you get certain people who just want to keep warm by your fire.
Yeah.
But you also, there's something in causing leaders that you want leaders who start are fire starters and fire starters for other leaders.
Totally.
And that starts spreading a different kind of vibe and a different kind of frequency and a different kind of energy in that kind of flow when we're all moving toward being fire starters together. And then we go out into the world and we are fire starters, attracting others who maybe initially want to warm or they need to warm themselves by our fire. Yeah. But again, training them and opening up to the possibility they are a fire starter. Yeah. And when you awaken that within them, it's like you're awakening the teacher within them. Yeah, and then connecting them to a higher kind of guidance within themselves. So we're all individually self-led and collectively we can go places where we wouldn't go alone, kind of thing. You've built a lot of companies, right? Like you from the ground up. Staying with the people, just looking at people and relationships. Where do you start? When you're starting something, you want to build a new team. Do you look for a certain kind of person? Do you look for certain kind of skills? Do you look for character? Do you look for, what do you look for? And how do you attract those kind of people?
That's actually what I think some of my life now is helping build leaders. Mm-hmm. It really is. And being able to find, attract, and grow great leadership teams is something that I'm so passionate about. Everybody has high potential, but not all people are high performers. So again, everybody has high potential, but not everybody is high performers. And I love what you said about lighting that fire. I love to see people that are those self-starters. But anybody that I work with, they have to have high character and high competency and high trust. If you can have those things, if you can trust somebody that is capable and that has a great competency, then you can build a really amazing team around. But if you have somebody where their character is off and they're in it for them, they're not in it for the team, then I have a formula called make sure that I never do business with somebody where their E is over their P squared.
What does that mean?
So it's where people's ego is higher than their principles. Mm-hmm. And so I will only do business where people where their P is over their E squared, which is where their principles are higher than their ego and self-economic interests. Yeah. So if somebody's ego or self-economic interests are like above their principles, then they will break. Like you and I both know the businesses. We build business. You build a massive yoga company and humongous business. You're working with companies like Lululemon and other companies. And how it is when you get down the road and somebody's character is off, it usually is going to end up in not something that's going to have a legacy effect to it. So the way that you build leaders that can create legacy effect is you find leaders that their P is over their E squared. You find principle-led leaders, and that makes all the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, no, very, very good. What is a high performer to you? Do you have a definition for a high performer? And how do you know when you see one? How do you recognize one?
In working closely with an amazing friend of mine, Brendan Burchard, he wrote a book called High Performing Habits. It's the 6 habits of high performers. And they're just amazing habits. I'm actually a master teacher in it. I've been through all of it, all of his trainings and taught his trainings. And Brendan is just a great friend. But high performers are people that can actually play at a higher level over a long period of time while maintaining positive relationships. Is that crazy? Let me just say it. High performance is being able to work and create and develop at a high standard and high performance over a long period of time while maintaining relationships.
Yeah.
So we all have those leaders that are like, whether it's a dictator or a boss or whatever it is, like great leaders hire principally led people that may be even better than them in different skill sets.
Yeah.
It's like putting together a band of brothers and helping you grow a team together that is so unique and so fun, where your joy, where your heart is all in, and you know that the culture is at a high place because you're all doing it to help the betterment of the group.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you get people that are just in it for them, then it's hard to have that excitement. It's hard to have that joy. It's hard to have that energy. And so high performance, there's two things. There's high performance people, but then the other thing is high performing teams. That's when the collective group can exceed expectations over the long haul while maintaining positive relationships.
Yeah. Wow. And that's deep. And it hits deep. That the relationship part. So I always brought a high performing way of being to things. Like I've always been a high performer in a sense. But the relationship part, if I look back when I started 30 years ago, that was the piece, the relationships and maintaining and building relationships and keeping relationships over time is something I was failing at a lot early on in the game. I look back at certain opportunities I missed. I look at times where I just didn't handle conversations or interactions with people that actually meant a lot to me, that were very important to me, just personally and professionally and what have you. And I poured salt on those relationships, so to speak. And it was something I really at a certain point had to get committed to. I didn't like, just from the basic level of humanity, I didn't want to, it wasn't my intention or my commitment to leave people feeling like I poured salt on them. Or leave people. Now, there's no perfect in relationships. When you're dealing with human beings, there's no perfect. But I knew that something was missing in how I was approaching relationships overall. And so I did a lot of work on how to be authentically through and through, like caring for people and authentic and real and not compromise. Here was the bigger struggle for me, is that gap between not compromising on what we wanted to accomplish, our mission, not compromising on that, and that gap of bringing people along into that vision. And because sometimes you really have to work with certain people. I know some of the bigger players and team players in my business and world over the years, we all hit bumps. They'd hit bumps, and I didn't want to leave them in that. I wanted to bring them along and up level them, but to have them find that for themselves. And at every moment they're a choice. They could stay in as a team or not. But I share that because I think that's really valuable for all of us and for people listening, because there's something about, we often, whether it comes from our childhood or certain ways we learned along the ways, if someone isn't showing up the way you want, you cut them off. It's like you live in a black and white world. And knowing the difference of when it's time to just let someone go, and that's actually leaving them in their greatness, because there's something probably elsewhere better for them. But to do it in a way that is supportive and empowering. But man, I have a lot of failures in the background where I wish I knew this then. But I love that, actually. So a high performer is someone who's showing up, getting it done, and keeping relationships intact and evolving wherever they need to go. You and I, just to shift a little bit, you and I have been talking about preparedness. Personal preparedness, professional preparedness for what the world right now is in crisis. You could say the world is in a spiritual, mental health is issues, and people grappling with mental health, depression, suicide, anxiety, living in uncertainty, overwhelm is off the charts. And there's something about being prepared. So if things and things could get harder. We could be moving into a winter, like a spiritual winter as in the world, globally, within our country, within our communities, within our families. What do you see? What's the first thing in being prepared for whatever comes at you in life? What do you see as like if we start from the foundation of someone's life, what is fundamental to being prepared in what in what's to come, what's happening, what you're dealing with, what's confronting you, difficulties, challenges, adversities, like that? Yeah.
This is a topic that we were talking about because there's so much going on right now in the world. And I always believe that if ye are prepared, you shall not fear. And if you are prepared, you shall not fear. I love that verse. But I also love too, like courage and having that, building up our courage muscle. I always say that courage is faith that has said its prayers.
Wait, say that again.
Courage is faith courage is fear that has said its prayers. So if you think about that, courage is fear that has said its prayers. Just like there are going to be times in our life where we are scared to death of what's going to happen. I think we all go through that. We all go through those times, just be like, I don't know. I cannot see what is next. I'm struggling. And these could be people that have all the money in the world. These could be people that are going through relationship crisis. They could be people that are going through financial crisis. They could be people that are going through faith crisis. And the thing that happens is that they give up hope. And so I think part of our mission on this earth is to instill hope in others. Because if you're prepared, if you have hope, if you have a strong mindset, we can literally figure anything out. You never have an issue. You just have a decision that needs to be made. Literally, that's Ray Dalio. You never have an issue. You just have a decision that needs to be made. If we can train our minds, I think the very, very first thing, and getting to know you, is are we emotionally strong enough to handle some of the things we're going to go through? And I think about my children. I have 6 kids. I have 2 sets of twins. Am I preparing them to be physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually strong enough to make it through what they're going to go through in my life? I've been through stuff. I've been through hard things. And you know what? I came through the other side stronger and better. But at the time, it was freaking hard. And I'm just so thankful for an amazing wife that always keeps her head straight too. So I think what being prepared means that you can handle things first emotionally, spiritually, but you also have to be prepared financially. We've got to get our financial houses in order. Don't go into too much debt. Be wise with it. Invest wise, because there may be some things that are coming. But I try to put myself in a place where I have no need for want. For me, that's being prepared, is that I don't need anything from anything else. With my own 2 hands, I can do anything that comes. Do I have enough stuff? Yes. Do I have got whatever comes right now? I feel like we're in a good spot. So the other thing is like being prepared yourself. Part of preparedness for me is who is your circle of friends? Who is those people that you can call at 3 o'clock in the morning that can be there for you? I always say this, take everything away from me, my money, my companies, my businesses, everything. Just don't take away my friends and put me on a deserted island, and I will be back up and running in less than 6 months. Because if your network can also be a massive thing to help you be prepared. You help each other, you build each other up. So I think that part of that is just ensuring that we are mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually prepared for whatever may come. That's where my joy comes from. That's where I don't worry. I'm like, you know what? I also have faith in God that we're going to figure this out with hard freaking work. That's what preparedness is to me.
Yeah, I love that. And then if you were to take a starting point for someone who has just been in the dark, feeling like they're in just darkness, they're grappling with their general mental health, they're in this state of overwhelm. I always like getting feet on the ground, totally. Getting out of the head and the mass of thoughts and the feelings and body sensations, and that all the internal states that when we're focused just on the creature and all that are absorbed in ourselves, so to speak, internally, it creates a gap between what's happening externally, like our finances.
Yeah.
You could be grappling. I've always been good at earning money, bringing money in, attracting money. But then there's something else about knowing what to do with that money in a way that's responsible and also prepared for whatever happens, not spending more than I earn, or not spending more than makes sense if it's in a business, not spending more than you have, not living into debt, like you mentioned as an example. But when you start I had to learn how to pull open the curtain, lift up the rocks, and really get connected to numbers, like reality, financially, or likewise, if my physical body health, stop for a moment, pause, drop in, scan your body. It'll speak to you. It'll tell you what's going. Really, just you get quiet right there. Drop your attention down into your gut. Feel your belly, your internal organs, your heart, your pulsation. It's the power of meditation, prayer, yoga practice, physical movement, getting out in nature, and there's something about being externally moving as well that connects you. When you get quiet, you're connected to your body, and you listen to what's needed and wanted, and you act on that. But in part of getting prepared, what do you think is a number one place for someone to begin? So if they're in darkness right now, or some gray cloud, living in the clouds of overwhelm, something like that, what's one place? Where's a place to start? Is it spiritually, mentally, physically? Is it relationships? Is it all the things? But is there one thing as a starting place?
Yes. You want me to tell you what my starting place is?
I love it.
So as you're talking, the starting place for me, and what I would recommend to anybody that I work with, the very, very first starting place for me is to get on your knees and talk to God. I can't tell you how many miracles have came into my life through prayer. And just knowing, like even this morning when we were doing yoga with our group, the phrase kept coming to my mind, be still and know that I am God. And I think we get into all of this material things and everything else and all this worry, but what matters most? Make sure that you get grounded and you get down to the things that matter most in your life, which is usually your friends and your family and your core business. Everything else you can figure out. So for me, massive prayer, go talk out loud, pray out loud, talk to God. I do all the time. It is so healthy and so real and so raw. And it's just not like talking to the universe or whatever. I believe that I have a divine creator that created me and he cares. Yeah. I have great hope. And that brings huge joy to my heart. I'm just telling you, like, it's the one thing that I'm never going to go away from because I feel so led and guided. Where God guides, he provides. That would be the first and foremost. Second, what I would do after prayer, go work hard and go put things down on a one-page strategy. If you don't have your personal life on a strategy, like one-page strategy, you don't have a strategy. And that came from my good friend, Tyler Norton. I worked for years, is go write down exactly what you want to do. Make sure you listen to your heart and mind. And that's where you need to work. What are the things that you were created to do? What brings joy to your heart? Where can you, in our book, Prosper, prosper is basically the balance between money, happiness, and sustainability. If you don't know exactly where you're doing, you cannot do it for long periods of time. If it does not drive joy in your heart, you cannot do it for long-term periods of time. If you don't absolutely love it, you'll never be the best at your craft and earn the money from being yourself, from being you. Yeah. So first prayer, and then write down a massive strategy. And then the third thing is go build a team. Go rally around people go join a mastermind, go hire on an assistant, go hire on somebody to help you create what you are designed to create that is completely aligned to you. You do those three things right, you'll get away from a lot of the worry, a lot of the anxiety. You just have to start. Like you always talk about, you just got to get on the mat and go. For me, the mat starts with prayer. Second, strategy and hard work. Third, people.
Yeah. And the strategy is that starting with, like I like to call it self first, like how you, from the moment you wake up in the morning, how you spend each day. And then is when you say strategy, is it that in where you're putting your attention on business, on people, relationships, on where you want to go, what you want to create? Is strategy from once a part of strategy is time and attention and action, discipline on self, cultivating self, and then out to the world. Is that, say a little bit more about strategy.
There's business strategy, right? And business strategy is, what is my strategic objectives? What was I created to do? And we always say that you can't do more than five things, but what is your strategic objectives that you want to accomplish? And what are the 5 things that are going to help get you there? For example, one of those key strategies may be writing a book. One of those key strategies may be, I want to create a software program. Like, I'm talking strategy is actually pretty high level, and then that'll allow you to get into the tactical. Right. So strategy is just that one page. This is what I'm going to do for the next 3 to 5 years. And I usually don't do strategy for more than 3 to 5 years. I have my life goals. Yeah. But it's like, what is that? A 1 year, 2 year, 3 year outlook? Strategy is high level, and then you can get into the tactics. For example, one of my strategies is to write another book. And then behind that is, I need a writer, I need a publicist, I need marketing, I need a website, that's when you get it. But just creating that strat document that you have in front of you every single day will make a massive difference. You will manifest it, you will do it. There's so many times in my life where I put on my strategy, I want to actually earn this amount of money by the end of this year. I want to have this partner by the end of this year. I put it on there and it like happens. Yeah. And so when you write it down, you're manifesting it. And so I actually like drawing it out, putting it on Visio, everything, have it printed out. So that's what I'm talking about. And then you can work on the tactics. Yeah. Then I journal every night. And then then you check yourself every day on the tactical side. Am I reaching my goals? Yeah. Am I accomplishing my strategy? Yeah, I love that. I also hear in that a created purpose. Yeah. What you feel like's calling you, or what you envision, what you sense is possible and that you want to create. But in a way, you're creating purpose for 100%. Yourself. And then you reverse engineer. You come back to, who do I need to be? I always like to look at, who do I need to be? What do I need to be doing in the tactical daily? Right. I need my energy. I need my clarity of mind. I need proper sleep, proper food, nourishment, proper movement, prayer, meditation, because I need to be someone. It's going to take me being someone who I haven't been. Right. And to create something new that I haven't yet created, and to attract people at a similar frequency that will join me in that vision, and we go where I'm wanting to go. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. And then what you mentioned about prayer, I remember at points in my life where my knees hit the floor, and I remember I didn't bring my knees to the floor, but I hit bottom. And the first thing there is almost like a victim voice in there. It's like, why is life doing this to me? Mm-hmm. That was like right there. I remember this one time I was going through a very difficult time in my life. I just recently been divorced. I had just written, a new book. I was on the road constantly, like city to city, like 3 cities a week. I remember hitting bottom like that. And I remember in the moment, like in hitting bottom, there was a moment of opportunity or choice where it was like, am I going to be the victim in this? And it's like, why has life done this to me? And in that moment, there was something that spoke, I call it God's voice, but it was something that was like, no, life isn't breaking you. You've broken yourself against life.
Like I was breaking certain rules or laws or of spirit or physicality or energetic law. I was breaking certain laws unconsciously, and I had done everything up to that point to try to fix it, to try to figure it out, but I realized it was like, no, I went from my life, like bringing me to bottom, right, my knees hitting the floor, to no, bringing my knees to the floor and handing it all over, handing it all up to God, to something greater than myself, and asking. It's like a prayer that just intuitively, just naturally came forth. It was like, God, show me what I'm not seeing. Show me what my blind spot. Show me what I'm not doing that I should be doing. Show me, like, it was such a shift of vision, a shift of perception in myself, but it was in such a real moment in real time, dealing with real life, that it was a very real experience for me. And I remember right then, it was like, no, never again. I'm responsible for this life, for my life, who I'm being. And if something's not working, I need to check myself, kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah.
I always think too is adversity will introduce a man to himself. But at the same time, you and I were talking about becoming our best self. Sometimes we go through trials in our life that are afflicted upon us, and that are out of our control. And I think understanding that as part of the struggle and part of life. We were talking about one of the practices in Buddha is just like part of what he believed was we're going to struggle regardless. And part of that is to really enjoy that. And so I have a really great mentor of mine, somebody that I look up to hugely. He used to always say he would pray for mountains to climb. He would pray for hard things. I'm like, holy cow. But you think about that, it's like how, like the only way that we live life to the fullest is we push ourselves to greatness. I really believe in that. I really believe, like, even now I want to be a better person. I want to be a better husband, a better father, a better man, a better business partner. I haven't been perfect. But you know what? From today on, when we woke up this morning, I have a chance to reset myself. And so that's what drives me. So it's like, how can I do hard things today? And how can I push myself to be my best version? And that's why I love hard things. I love mountains to climb. I'm always setting new goals, new things. So part of, I think, the joy in my heart is because I am trying. The word entrepreneur, do you know what the French derivative of entrepreneur means? What it means?
No.
Entrepreneur means simply to try. Are we trying? You talk about who you want to hang around. You want to hang around people that will push you the very most. And when we go through those adversities, that when you were going through that, if we were together, I would hope that you'd be like, Garn, not only did I talk to God, but I'm going to call you and I'm going to be there for you. And surrounding yourself with a band of brothers and great people will help us through those adversities. But we can't always rely on people. There is a time in your life where you have got to conquer your inner self. You've got to have emotional strength. Why is it that somebody can climb this high of a mountain and another person can climb this one? And so I think about, like you asked me about strategy. Strategy isn't what makes you more of the same. It's what makes you unique and different. And so to do that, you have to dig deep. It's no longer a time in our lives, especially the age I'm at, where I can just snorkel anymore. I've got to scuba dive with my goals. I've got to go deeper than I ever have. I've got to push myself farther than I ever have, emotionally, spiritually, financially. I got to protect my family. I got to protect my wife. I got to be a provider. I got to be prepared for what's ahead. And that's what energizes me every single day. And so that's why having a strategy around that is so important, because we can't be like grasshoppers. Great on takeoff. You never know where you're going to land. So that's why I'm like, I love working with amazing men that I can help them put that fire in their belly and help them be great providers, protectors, and be prepared for what's ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. That's some real talk right there. Real talk. The hard things in our society, there's a lot of just messaging, whether it's men or with people in general that to avoid hard things. I created a yoga style, power yoga, Baptiste power yoga. It's hard, man. It's tough. You get on that mat, it squeezes you, it pushes you.
I went through it this morning.
We went through it this morning, right? It's 6:30 a.m. Did I want to get on the mat at 6:30 a.m.? No. But do I get up out of bed? Yes. Do we just go to the place we're going to practice, roll out the mat? The whole time, part of my mind's like, I don't want to do this. But you get on that mat and you start moving, you start breathing, you start going through the rigor of those different movements. It's doing a hard thing. But on the other side of that, and within that, you find ease. Yeah. You dig deeper in yourself to find breath, to find what we call your drishti, your focused gaze. You get present. There's a presencing. But when we're just like if we just went and hung out at this beach all the time, it would get very boring very quick. It's because there's something in our character. We need friction. It's a creative kind of something to rub up against that actually asks more of us. Yep. Something like that. And there's a time to press pause and reset, restore. There's that, I like saying the world of action is made up of doing and also not doing. It's that the pause that creates the harmony within what we're doing. But if we're not doing hard things that challenge us, and I always like to say as well, if you really follow higher guidance, it will take you to scary places. It will take you to difficult places.
That's why you got to have courage.
Yeah, that's why the courage piece, right? The courage in the face of fear. I like what you said. I like saying too, leaders are carved in the face of adversity. It's where we're carved out. And I think the world right now there's a push against people who lead, people who stick their necks out. It's to shrink back, get small, self-censor. Don't stick your neck out because they'll come and cut it off real quick. So the need for courage, where we're coming full circle in this conversation, but the need for courage, I really love that. And leaving people on this note, we started with courage, but courage isn't necessarily the absence of fear. It's in the face of fear. Is that how you see it?
Courage is being afraid, but going anyways. Courage is being scared to death, but having a knowledge that you can accomplish hard things. Everything's hard until it's done. Everything's hard until you do it. So I want to build a family, my friend group, a company that is just fearless and all rowing hard in the same direction. And so really good leaders can do that with people and help dissipate fear. Mm-hmm. Really good leaders drive hope, drive encouragement. They're not bosses. They're not dictators. Really good leaders are courageous. People will not follow people that have no courage. They won't. Yeah. They're like, I love what you're doing, Baron. I want to be like you. I want to be with you. I feel so much better when I hang out with you. I have more courage in my heart because of your teachings and what you've done. Like, those are the kind of people you want to be with. And so that's what we could end with is I want to drive courage in the hearts of men during these times. I want to help drive faith and hope that we can create a better thing than tomorrow. Even though if things are all around us and just feels like crisis, that's what the outside wants. It doesn't mean you need to have a storm inside, because we need to be prepared and we need to have courageous hearts.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Okay. So I'm going to leave you with one question. I'll ask a question. What does it mean to you to leave people in their greatness? What does it mean to leave people in their greatness? What does that mean to you?
Oh, man. How to leave people in their greatness. My whole life, I've just tried to inspire others, tried to encourage them. I think if I can help people see what I see in them, because a lot of times it's hard to be a prophet in your own land. It's also super hard for us sometimes to see our true worth. And so I always want to share with other people that they are a powerful human. They can accomplish hard things. I believe that they're a son and daughter of God. And I try to leave them with what I see are their core competencies and to go deep with that and to follow up. And so I think if we can see everybody that has divinity inside them and learn how to do that, we'll have a ton more joy in our heart and also treat people a heck of a lot better.
Yeah. Very good. Randy, thank you for being with us, man. I love just spending time with you, being with you, and it's always an uplift. So very good. Where can people find you?
You can just go to randygarn.com.
Yeah, Randy Garn, RANDYGARN.com. You're also on Instagram. All right, my friends, stay blessed, stay true, stay safe, and please share the show. We grow the show here through your sharing of it. Thank you. Peace out.
Aaron, you're the man.
Mm-hmm.